If there is one thing that people with knowledge like to do, it is to tell you that they have the answer. Throughout many books, articles, and YouTube videos, various experts clamor over each other to tell you why you should listen to them.
You have to be tough as a damn boot to be good, because you have to stand your ground when you need to stand your ground, and you have to be able to say no when it's time to say no.
Letting go is really what solves the emotional skills of socializing and connecting with people.
I just don't get it. I don't get why people think at 18, 22, 30 that they have to have their life figured out when they live to 90 and 100.
The assumption is that you should listen because they have experience, results, expertise, or sound logic. Yet, none of these people, no matter how intelligent or educated, have the universal truth. They have models, or rather, approximations of the truth. While it is certainly beneficial to listen to experts, there are important caveats when it comes to reconciling common wisdom and reality in context. Solutions matching to problems. For a solution to be valid, it must match a given problem that it intends to solve. Additionally, the resolution of the solution must match the resolution of the problem. Let's say you ask someone how to get from New York to Los Angeles. They could respond by telling you to head west. Going west is the correct direction, but if your only instruction is to head west, you could end up in Portland or Vancouver. When we want to problem solve in reality, we need the level of detail of the solution to match the level of detail of reality. But as we will see, this is a near impossible task. This won't stop experts from telling you that they have the answers to life figured out. Aphorisms of wisdom are memes that are easy to spread while audiences want to believe that life is simple. For those standing on the stage, preaching from a pedestal and receiving adoration is a satisfying feeling that is hard to turn down. Thoughts are approximations. Are our minds capable of simulating reality well enough to predict how it will behave? If we wanted to describe reality with 100% fidelity, one requirement would be enough storage capacity to store a copy of it. The average human can remember 7 digits in their mind plus or minus 2 digits. The average data contained in a 30-second 1080p video is 37.5 megabytes, or about 39 million bytes. That is 5 million times more data than the average person can store in working memory. Thoughts must simplify reality by an order of several million times to be useful. According to a 2020 study partly titled Exposing the Mental Noise of Trait Neuroticism, the average person has about 6,000 thoughts per day. If we allow 4 bytes per thought, it would take 1,638 days just to think of all the data in a 30-second video clip. To communicate thoughts, one must use words. Wherever we see words, we can think of them as thoughts put into canonical form. In his book, The Language Instinct, Harvard psychologist Steven Pinker states that knowing a language then is knowing how to translate mentalese into strings of words, and vice versa. People without a language would still have mentalese. Coming from the spiritual angle, Alan Watts captures the insufficiency of words in his talk, Intelligent Mindlessness. But if I call this the sound of a gong, it isn't the same as this. You see? Sound of a gong is a different sound from that sound. The sound of a gong is not. Watt's message is poignant. Only reality is reality. What is a chair? Let's say you were on the phone with a friend and you told your friend that you were sitting in a chair. Your friend already has a mental model of what a chair is, but it is a loosely defined or compressed term. If your friend thinks you are home, they might visualize you in this. Or if you tell them you are at work, they might picture you in this. But your friend would have completely missed the picture if you were sitting in a chair like this. A word as simple as chair could have thousands or even hundreds of thousands of representations. If we wanted to describe the chair with high fidelity, we might need a few hundred words, and if we wanted to describe the chair with perfect fidelity, it could take millions of bits of information. Your friend is probably not planning on having a conversation about a chair that lasts several hours or even days. Chaos theory. What do Ashton Kutcher and John Gribben, PhD in astrophysics from the University of Cambridge, have in common? Both have contributed works that express the concept of chaos theory. Ashton Kutcher starred in the movie The Butterfly Effect, unfortunately scoring 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. John Gribben is the author of the book Deep Simplicity, Bringing Order to Chaos and Complexity. Chaos theory describes how small changes in the input of a system can have large differences in the outcome of a system. Formally, it is described as the study of apparently random or unpredictable behavior in systems governed by deterministic laws. The study of chaos theory first came to be when it was discovered that the exact positions of 3 orbiting planets could not be calculated in a consistent way, also known as a closed-form solution. The gravitational effects of each planet on each other can alter the system widely. Those gravitational effects vary from the starting point, making it impossible to calculate with a constant formula. Imagine there was a pebble floating down a river that got stuck behind a large rock. That pebble would presumably go in circles indefinitely, that is until the pebble went just far enough to the edge that it moved into a different orbit. This pattern is visually illustrated by the famous Lorentz attractor. Chaos theory shows us that when a system is complex, it is almost impossible to predict the outputs of that system. Life contains many layers of randomness and unpredictability that are too difficult to model with just thoughts and words. Reasonable advice gone wrong. Some time ago when I was living in New York City, a friend of mine told me that he was laid off from his job. Since this company was sponsoring my friend's visa, he had about 2 months to find a new job before he was kicked out of the country. When he asked me what his next move should be, I recommended the most pragmatic action. I strongly advised my friend to keep the same occupation as a software engineer, since there were more jobs available in that field. My friend, however, saw this as his opportunity to switch to his desired role of product manager. I told him that he was acting irresponsibly and jeopardizing his visa. With every additional job interview he was rejected from, I strengthened my resolve that he should take whichever job he could get before time ran out. This was the story until 2 weeks before his visa expired. I picked up the phone and he told me he had received exactly 1 job offer from his search. "What did you land?" I asked. "Product manager at Google," he replied. I was stunned. How did he pull that off? Did my friend get lucky? Am I bad at giving advice? Years have passed since that day, and still I have not encountered any closed-form solution that would address a repeat of my friend's situation. Astrology works sometimes. As someone who has studied astrology for more than 5 years, but studied science for many more years than that, I have always been conflicted about the limitations of astrology. I have had the dream of moving to Hong Kong ever since I first visited in 2016. In 2022, I decided to finally pull the trigger and put an application to the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology for an MBA. I was standing on Occam's razor, not really sure if I should leave New York City for Hong Kong. This is why I only applied to one school, with the theory that fate would handle the rest. When I asked my astrology teacher if he thought I would end up going to Hong Kong, his answer was a resounding no. He said, "You don't have the chart of an expat." Since he had made many astonishingly correct predictions over the years, I respected his view. I still wanted to go to Hong Kong, however, so in response, I said, "Maybe you're right, but the only way to test this is if I put forth a legitimate effort." As soon as I decided that I would attempt to go to Hong Kong, everything went wrong. After having a solid bill of health for several months, Just 24 hours before the GRE test, I came down with the flu. During the application, I locked in my previous manager as a recommendation, who went MIA after he agreed to write it. For my entrance interview, I mixed up the time zones and I missed my interview. Finally, within a month of submitting my application, I got involved in a relationship with someone who asked me not to go to Hong Kong. My teacher is right. I'm not meant to go to Hong Kong. I said to my friend sitting next to me in the sauna at the Russian and Turkish baths. Before my friend could respond, a man appeared literally from the fog and he said, "This is nonsense. I've worked with some of the most successful people and they all push through barriers and limitations." For the next 45 minutes, this unidentified man talked my ear off on life lessons. And then as quickly as he appeared, he disappeared. I never saw him again. I have now finished my MBA at HKUST and have lived in Hong Kong for a year and a half, traveling to multiple Asian countries for work in the process. Action reveals the truth. No one, whether they are educated or a psychic or an expert, knows what will happen in the future. This is not because these people are not competent or knowledgeable, but because our thoughts are too low resolution compared to the mind-blowing complexity of reality. When a guru sits with a client, what they need to do is to propose various truths as tools to solve a given problem. The client, however, needs to collaborate with the guru to define how well these truths fit the problems they are facing. If an expert hands a client a Phillips head screwdriver, the client needs to look and see if the tool matches the screw. This is a collaborative process between a problem solver and the person with the problem defining the details of the problem. When axioms are shared, the most effective type are principles that are self-evident. Self-evident principles can be shared from person A to person B, and then person B can go and test those ideas against reality. The most famous axiom is Einstein's equation E equals mc squared, which is a closed form solution. To date, Einstein's equation has been tested possibly more than any other physics equation. Like chaos theory, life is just too complicated to be predicted by a single equation. Yet if we use the right concepts carefully with two-way communication, we can find the right wisdom to guide us along the way.